Graduating from Freed-Hardeman College, Bob Terry became a pilot in the U.S. Navy. During his naval career, he made carrier landings on the USS Lexington and the USS Intrepid. He flew 2,000 hours in the P-3A aircraft in its anti-submarine warfare role. Missions included carrying nuclear weapons. After leaving active duty, Mr. Terry spent another 6 years in the Naval Reserve, reaching the rank of Lieutenant Commander. In 1968, Mr. Terry was hired as a pilot for Northwest Airlines. For the next 36 years, he flew all over the world in some of the finest aircrafts ever built. He spent his last 12 years as captain of the Boeing 747 aircraft. Mr. Terry has been married to the beautiful Carol Terry for 49 years. They have 2 daughters, Jennifer and Lisa. Both are graduates of Harding University. Mr. and Ms. Terry have been members of the Southern Hills Church of Christ in Franklin, Tennessee for the last 18 years. Please join me in welcoming today's speaker, Lieutenant Commander Bob Terry.
Dr. Ellenberg, faculty, staff, honored guests, fellow veterans, and especially Cougars, one and all. We're here to celebrate Veterans Day. I'd like you to look at your watches, please. Let's just get an exact time. I've got 10:06. In exactly 54 minutes, it's going to be 11 a.m. It is no ordinary 11 a.m. It's a very special 11 a.m. It will be the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of the year 2013. Cougars, we're going to go on an adventure. We're going to go back in time 95 years. We're going to go to Paris, France. And you're going to have to help me here. You're going to have to use your imaginations. Let's close our eyes and let's just imagine that we're in this nice little French restaurant cafe. You and me and a couple of our friends. The waiter is standing right next to us. He's about ready to take our order. We hear distant thunder past. Boom! Boom, 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 boom! Wait a minute. That's not thunder. Those are guns. Those are big guns. Those are Army guns. We're a little startled. And the waiter looks at us and he says, "Oh, sir, don't be alarmed." He says, "Those guns are far away. We are safe here." And then our education kicks in and we remember where we are. We're 95 years ago. It's the 11th day of November in 1918. And the Great War is in progress. It's been going on for 4 years. The whole world is at war. They've had terrible battles. The casualty list has been astounding. As a matter of fact, if you added up all the soldiers on both sides of this conflict, there were 60 million men and women in uniform fighting World War I. Of those 60 million, 10 million had already been killed. Another 21 million were wounded. And on top of that, there were 6 million civilians that died as a direct result of World War I. Add that up, and that's 37 million casualties. Now, I don't know about you, but I have just a terrible time wrapping my mind around numbers like that. I have a tendency to forget the humanity and the human suffering. So what I like to do, Cougars, is I like to just kind of boil all those numbers down into something that I can understand. Something that I can understand is something that I can remember. So let's do that. Cougars, let's close our eyes once again. We're in that nice little French cafe. And it's a nice place. It's clean. There are white tablecloths on every table. The waiters and the waitresses are wearing those little black serving uniforms with white shirts. Now let's look across the room. In the very far corner, there's a young mother over there. She's wearing the white dress. Can you see her? She's got a small baby boy on her lap. That boy looks like he's about, somewhere between 1 and 2 years old. Oops, he spilled his milk. Did you see that? Well, our waiter goes running over there to help her clean up the milk. While he's doing that, we're looking around the rest of this little cafe. Right next to us is a table with 6 young French women there. And over the morning, we have overheard bits and pieces of their conversation. And it turns out that they're all single. They've never been married, all 6 of them. They all work together. As a matter of fact, they just got off of a ship in the factory right next door. And they've come here for a little lunch before they get on with the rest of their day. What we're looking at here is kind of a tiny little cross-section of all the young women of France in 1918. Then all of a sudden it dawns on us, hey, 3 out of the 6 of those young women will never have the opportunity to fall in love, to marry, to have children, raise families of their own, because at this point in this Great War, half of the young French men are dead. Think about that. That's what 37 million casualties will do. And did do. Now, go back. Go back to that young woman over there holding the baby. That young woman, her name is Rose. And that's my grandmother. And that baby boy grew up to be my dad. And my grandmother was a special woman. She was French. And she grew up in Quebec, Canada. French was her native language. She learned to speak English in school. But she had an expression for this. She called it the lost generation. And a lost generation is what 37 million casualties can cause. Wham! All of a sudden, the front door of our cafe bouncing open, bangs up against the stops, and in comes running a little newspaper boy, and he's got newspapers under his arm, and he's hollering, "Armistice, armistice at 11 o'clock. Armistice, read all about it, armistice." Now, for those of you cougars who don't know what an armistice is, that's a big military word for a ceasefire, a truce. But what it really means is that the fighting and the killing stops. And that little paper boy says, "Armistice, armistice, 11 o'clock, read all about it." And then he proceeds to sell everybody in the cafe the newspaper, including you and me. Back then they didn't have television. You had to get your news out of the paper. So we all buy that paper and we're looking at it. And man, you can hear a pin drop in that cafe. Because everybody, this is big news. I mean, this is the news that the world has been praying about, hoping to happen. So we're reading our paper. Sure enough, Cougars, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of the year 1918, World War ended. Veterans, could you please stand once more for me, please? Veterans, let's show these Cougars how we can come to attention. Veterans, active, up! Stand at ease. Okay, we are here for Veterans Day. Let's honor these veterans. One way we can do it, we can do it in a military way. Now, if we're going to honor these veterans, we should not be sitting down. So let's stand up in a military way. Stay seated, stay seated. Stay seated. We're going to do this in a military way. Okay? I'm going to give the command, and it's going to sound something like this. Cougars, on your feet. Up! Not yet. We're pretty ragged up there. We want to do this with 600 strong. There's 600 students here. We want 600 people standing in a military fashion at the exact same time. So I'm going to just verbalize it one more time before you move. Cougars, on your feet. Up! Not listening. Okay, this is for real. Cougars, on your feet. Up! sit you back down. So listen to me. The command is going to be, Cougars, be seated. Up! Okay, are you ready? Cougars, be seated. Up! Okay, now we've had our practice. We're going to do it for you. Okay? Veterans, turn around and look at these students. Cougars, on your feet. Up! Very good, very good. Now to honor these veterans, you know, when you're in the military and you're receiving an honor, you have to be at attention. That's just the rule. So, veterans, did up! Cougars, we're going to honor these veterans by saying, thank you, veterans. Except that I want you to pick out a specific veteran. Pick out one that's going to be your veteran. And we're going to say, on command, wait for the command. We're going to say, thank you, veteran. Okay, Cougars, are you ready? Thank you, veterans. Again, thank you, veterans. Veterans, dismissed. Cougars. Remember the command now. Cougars, be seated. Up! Cougars, God bless you, and God bless America. Let's hear it.